Welcome to KYNDversations, a space for sacred dialogue, honest reflection, and deep listening. I'm your host, Kendra Frazier. KYNDversations was born from my own inner dialogue, my journey of spirituality through life's unfoldings, questions, and becoming. Along the way, I discovered something essential, that transformation often happens not in isolation, but in conversation. In this podcast, I sit with people from diverse faith traditions, spiritual paths, and lived experiences to explore one central question. What does devotion mean to you? And how does your relationship to the sacred shape your life? My hope is that each conversation becomes a light post for those who feel challenged, disconnected, or searching for belonging. And that through our shared reflection, you might find courage, clarity, and deeper connection to yourself. Wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here. Welcome to KYNDversations. I'm your host, Kendra Frazier, and it is such a gift to be present with you all today. I am thrilled to have our next guest, who's actually family. I mean, this is my blood. I call her Sister Cuz, and I want to introduce her properly. So, Mama SunFiyahh, affectionately known as the Mixtress Maven, is a spiritual elder, ordained minister, teacher, herbalist, rootworker, and Ifa priestess, whose work centers on the preservation and teaching of ancestral wisdom, spiritual discernment, and plant knowledge. With decades of lived spiritual practice and study, she is known for her ability to translate sacred traditions into practical wisdom that people can apply in their everyday lives. She is the founder of Mama SunFiyah's House of Hoodoo Masters, a spiritual learning community dedicated to education, mentorship, and cultural preservation. Through her classes, teachings, and spiritual mentorship, she helps individuals deepen their understanding of spirituality, ancestral traditions, herbal wisdom, and the unseen principles that influence the human life. Known for her warm, witty, and motherly teaching style, she often describes her approach as sitting at the spiritual kitchen table, where wisdom is shared openly, questions are welcomed, and growth is encouraged, sometimes served with a good dose of get right. Her nurturing presence creates a space where people feel seen and supported, while her sharp insight and no-nonsense honesty ensure that the truth is never watered down. With humor, cultural wisdom, and a loving but firm hand, she delivers the kind of spiritual medicine that helps people hear what they need to hear and grow from it. As a speaker and teacher, Mama SunFiyahh brings depth, clarity, and cultural perspective to conversations about spirituality, ancestral traditions, plant medicine, and the deeper principles that shape human experience. Her work continues to inspire people to reconnect with their roots, strengthen their discernment, and live with greater spiritual awareness and purpose. Those who study with her often say it feels less like a lecture and more like being called to the kitchen table by an elder who loves you enough to feed you, teach you, and pop your hand if you need it. Please welcome Mama SunFiyahh. What's happening, sister cousin? You still muted.
Oh, there we go. That was my fault. I'm sorry. What's happening, Sister Cuz? Now, listen, I thought I said on the bottom of that bio, I said pop your fingers. I didn't say fingers on there.
Let me look at it. Wait a minute. Let me look at it. Let me see what you said.
You know the proper word and proper way to say it.
If you need it. That's what it literally reads.
Okay.
It is true. She will pop it if she needs to, energetically.
I thought I said, well, no, didn't I say fingers? Okay.
You have to change that, then.
No. This is the right word for the right audience. Hands will be just fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. You know, I was, as I listened, I was like, who is she talking about? Who is that?
Yes, it is you. This is going to be a fun conversation because I just really value your spiritual journey, even as a teenager. Just witnessing what you were then to who you have become now and are continuing to become is beautiful. So, how are you arriving today? How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm blessed and highly favored. Amen.
Oh,
Amen.
oh, amen. Amen. So let's start out with something easy. How did you come to the name of Mama SunFiyahh?
Oh, that's not easy, but I will say I'll try to keep it brief because I tend to have side conversations with myself and others that I'm talking to at the same time. So essentially, I had long begun my decolonization of my mind, right, and deconstructing of Christianity. And so by the time I became Mama SunFiyahh, it was at a point where I began to center myself into the divine mother energy, if I could use that term. I was really, I don't know why I was led there. It was not anything that I had learned before. It just was an evolution of me. And so just in my experience, just in my normal day-to-day spirituality, I would often get these downloads. I would hear things, and have these experiences. And it was a very random day, on a very beautiful random day during the spring. And there was outside, after having prayed for a while to the primordial mothers and asking the primordial mothers to talk to me and asking the primordial mothers who I am. I just randomly looked out the back door of my kitchen, and on the grass there was puffs of what looked like cotton or fuzz. I didn't know what that was, and went outside. And because I have a level of fear, but no fear, I don't know how to describe some of my adventurous ways, things that I do, but I just stuck my hand down in that hole. I didn't know what hole that was, and the hole jumped, right? It moved. Whatever was under that fuzz moved, and I moved the fuzz, and I thought, it could be a snake, it could be, and then when I uncovered the fuzz, I realized that there were little rabbits, little baby rabbits. And so, they were so cute. And I know, oh, baby rabbits, how we get that word, baby rabbits, come to Mama SunFiyahh. And that word came right out of my own mouth. And I stopped. And when it came out of my mouth, it did not sound like my voice that said it. Like I sat on the grass, kind of befuddled. I was like, who was that? Who was that? And then that was just it. It just kind of sat with me, it just stayed there. And I said, thank you, mother. I accept being Mama SunFiyahh. And I've been she ever since. And so a wonderful person, a friend of mine, I don't know if you're familiar with J. Richard Bird of Birdology Group. He does branding. I just so happened to call him. I told him about my experience, and he said, that's who you are, and that's who you've always been. He says, now you have to embody that energy and become who she is, or become who you've always been. And so that, years later, probably 14 years later, 15 years later, Mama SunFiyahh, the Mixtress Maven has stuck, So yeah, it's a wonderful thing. I started off as an herbalist, medicinal herbalist. And so that's where that Mixtress Maven has come from. But yeah, that's how I became Mama SunFiyahh.
That's a beautiful story. I wasn't aware of that. And no. I appreciate how it took 14 or 15 years for it to come full circle to you actually embracing the energy of it and the frequency of it. It reminds me of how the process that it takes to become. I feel like we live in a world now where people perceive that change is supposed to happen quickly, but transformation happens in the small daily choices that we make in life, as well as in the big moments that happen too. But it's a constant unfolding. Talk to me. And you talked about having these divine downloads, having sight. When were the early signs for you that you were connected to this spiritual way of being that allowed you to hear, to see beyond yourself?
Well, that's really hard for me to pinpoint. So many people can say, I remember when I was a little girl, or these things used to happen. I did have experiences growing up, but I was busy. I don't even know how to explain it, but I was busy. I was into a lot of things, doing a lot of things. And as a young mother, being focused in on my children, I just never really looked at it. And it just was always the way. And it wasn't until I really began to be serious about my journey in Christianity, becoming a teacher and a minister and ordained and all of that good stuff, till I really began to look at spiritual gifting in that way. Unfortunately, I did not have a lot of mentors while I was growing up in the church to nurture the gifting. I had many who would disallow my gifting and talk about me and do kind of, things contrary to my growth. But I think to pinpoint a day in time or a very small segment of time, I would say it wasn't until my near-death experience that I started to look at my spiritual gifting in a different way. It just was, it didn't have, what I feel like was my near-death experience. I'd had a major health crisis, and it forced me to recount all of the things, or as many things as I could remember, that were warning signs, gentle conversations that I overlooked, or signs and words that were given to me even in my early life. And I realized at that point, oh my God, I've been talked to all this time. And so I was about 47. I'm 60, 61, going to be 60. I'm 60, going to be 61 in a couple of weeks. So it took me having to be sat down, as we call it, God sitting you down to make you look, by giving you a heart attack, that verbiage. But it was not until I was an adult that I really began to connect the dots. And then everything came flooding back. So I don't know if I fully answered that question, but normally I would say most people, whatever giftings they have, they've had it since they were little. You just never pay attention. You never really pay attention to it unless you are keenly aware. Or if you have family members who say that girl right there is something's off, or she has a way about her. When people put a spotlight on your spiritual giftings or your issues, that's when I think children begin to recognize it. But my little busy self, I was looking at little boys. I wasn't thinking about nothing. Meaning, I was a little girl, and as a little girl, I was looking at little boys. I like boys. So yeah.
When it comes to the experience now that you have of being fully embracing of your gifts, having these divine downloads, this is a question that I get sometimes. How do you discern when it's your voice and when it is spirit's voice, or a spirit's voice? What spirit voice it is between yours?
That's a good question. For a long time, I wasn't quite sure. But I also am a researcher, or one who tries things. And I'm a Taurus, so it has to be proven to me. But once I began to pay attention to the things that were beginning to happen, I made mental note, and I also made physical note of my experiences. So I suggest everyone do that. Now, how do you know if things are being said to you if you haven't paid attention to the patterns? So I began to pay attention to the patterns, and when I wasn't quite sure if it was me or not, I just, out of myself, I just said, well, I need to know definitively, so I'm going to assign an experience. I assigned these awarenesses or these voices or things that I would hear. I gave it a masculine energy. I said, anytime you talk to me, God, I need you to speak to me in a male's voice or a male's energy. And so when I began to have these experiences, I could tell that this was definitely not me, because it didn't feel like me. I could tell when it was me. But now, since I have, been doing this a while, I hear all people might think I'm a little, la 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 la, but I hear all kinds of stuff. It's masculine, feminine. I have this Elizabethan woman who speaks to me. That's so and so. Like, who is that? Who is? Yes, ma'am. But you can do that. You can assign energy to a kind of characteristic so that you can identify who or what is being said to you, or how you're feeling about this energy that's coming in, that is outside of what feels like you. So
I appreciate that, the concrete invitation to study your patterns.
Yep.
Intentionally let spirit know how you want to hear the voice come in to distinguish whether it's yours or not. And then you list all these other voices that you experience, and people might have questions. So I just got to tap in on that. I can't let that go. So, I mean, you hear different voices. You got an Elizabethan voice that you hear. Would you resonate at all with the language of medium?
Say that last part. I think it kind of glitched for me. I don't know. I missed a part of what you said.
Would you resonate at all as someone who has the gift of mediumship?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's weird. Sometimes it feels like a drive-by energy, just, shouts out a name, Ashley. And it's like, who's Ashley? This morning I woke up, I had this dream, and in the dream, there was this woman's name. So I guess I'll share it here. So just in case someone in your audience, this might apply to this person, but in the dream, I was doing a presentation to an audience at an event to celebrate this woman. And I asked, the elder that was there in the room, what was her name? And she was being congratulated for this, I don't know, whatever her experience was. She was now being recognized and given credit for her experiences, or what she gave, whatever that was. And there was someone else getting the credit for it all these years, whoever that person was. So originally the gentleman said that woman's name was Janet or Johnette Ward. Now it's weird, just get a whole name, right? And so when I got ready to, like you would do, giving the bio and talking about it, I said, what is her name? And so she was sitting on a panel, and I said, what is your name? She says, people call me Janet Ward, but that's not my name. That's the name of the one who been getting the credibility. And I said, well, what is your name? She says to me, my name is Dr. Vanetta Johnson Chawd, CHOWD. And I wrote it down. I said, what? She said, CHOWD. And I said, yes, ma'am. And so I wrote her name down, and I looked at the property and the land that she had and all of the things. And so it comes up like that. So I hear names. I have feelings about a thing. Sometimes I do hear language or voice. There has been what I would call Asian, what I would identify. It may not have been, but that's just what it felt like to me. Sometimes in my experiences or when I'm having a connection, I've been told by others who've observed it that there are cultural sounds or names or languages that come from me and that I speak. So I have been told that I have spoken in others' native tongues that they did not know that I knew, but I did not know those languages. So it just depends on what's going on around me. But I would definitely say I'm a medium, but I just don't see dead people. I'm not that kind. I'm not that kind of medium. I don't want to see them.
Clear it up.
No. Don't come pull on my toe at night. Don't be standing by me, breathing on me, or I don't want to open my eyes and I see you. I don't need to. You can holler your name from a distance, say it loud enough for me to hear where I'm standing, and then I'll be able to acknowledge you. Don't come over here.
I'm with you on that. Do not let me see you. Do not let me reveal yourself to me because I don't want to see it.
I'm not really.
And everybody's gifts show up differently, which I think is so beautiful when we think about the expansiveness of what many of us refer to as God. One of the things that you name, which I think is really important, I don't want to gloss over, is that your spiritual foundation started in Christianity. How do you identify now and with Christianity, and how has your relationship with Christianity shifted over the years?
Okay, so my relationship with Christianity has, let me just say, when I left, I was mad. Okay, I was mad. I was mad at my mama Nim. I was mad at the pastor Nim. I was mad at the elder Nim. I was mad at all of them. Okay, I was even mad at God because why didn't you tell me it was different from what they was already saying? So I had it. I didn't want to talk to nobody. That was to include God. Don't talk to me. Okay, for a little bit until I got leveled. And of course, for years, I didn't want anything to do with Christianity specifically, religion at all, but Christianity specifically. And then as time, and I distanced myself truly from it, having been in Kemetic cosmology, I didn't want any of it. But I found out over time that when you're in the process, you come back to where you start. And so I don't mean that I'm now back in church. What I'm saying is sometimes you revisit structure. Sometimes when you heal, you go back to these places. When there's a process of elevation, you make what we would call a 360 or a 365 in a year rotation, not a 180. I was taught in church, and when God come, you make a 180. You turn and go in the other direction. Absolutely not. You make a full cycle. And so for me, as I spiral up and grow and evolve, I came back to a place of structure. And so with that being said, I am an initiated Iyanifa priestess in Ifa, in Isheshe, which is, an African traditional religion. But I still will say that even in Ifa, as beautiful as Ifa is, and as universal as Ifa is very beautiful religion. And I will say the cosmic size of Ifa, I find that Ifa suits me because I view my spirituality in a very universal and cosmic way. So when I'm working with Hoodoo, which is my near ancestry, or whether I'm working with my far ancestry in Africa, African culture, I look at it universally. So I consider myself to be a free agent with bounds. I don't know if that explains it, but I'm free to roam around the building a little bit. But it's a beautiful thing because many people are unable to, in regardless of what religion that they're in, they're unable to be free in that place. And so I'm again a full Taurus, and you can't tell me what to do, and because I'm gonna do what I want to do, but but I still am, disciplined. And so Christianity, to me now, I can safely say that it provided a level of discipline that I did not realize was beneficial until I began to grow and mature, and I learned very distinct, strong, structural things that I employ now. So you come full circle. If you grow, you come full circle.
If you grow, you come full circle. Somebody needs to tweet that. Somebody needs to write that in the comments, because it is true. Talk to me about how your spiritual life is so rich. As you named yourself as a free agent, someone who holds both being initiated into Isheshe as well as being someone who is a Hoodoo practitioner. How do you hold both, as you see it, as your spirituality is universal? How do you hold both, as well as your Christian roots?
It's easy.
Come on, talk to me about the ease.
Because I'm the God of my environment. I'm the center of the universe. All things revolve around me. All things come to me, and all things come from me. Thusly, I can choose any of these things, and they resonate and vibrate with me because I am the originator of it, and I'm also the mirror image of it. So I don't have a problem being able to distinguish which one or what applies. It all applies. Why? Because I'm it.
I am the God of my environment.
I am the God of my environment.
Talk to me about that, because somebody might have a problem with you calling yourself God. Like, talk to me about how you get comfortable with even naming that.
Don't care what people think about it, right? I don't care if it ruffles their feathers and they feel away. That's your business, okay? I choose to say, I didn't say I was the God and creator of the universe. I didn't say that. I said that I am the God of my environment, that wherever I go, I'm central to that place, right? I have the ability to create what I need in my life, draw to me what it is that I need. And I also have the ability to send away what I don't need. I work this here internet right here, this World Wide Web that sits before you. I'm the algorithm. I create the algorithm, and the algorithm revolves around my life, right? Giving me what it is that I emit back at me, right? So it doesn't matter how people, they get a little in a bunch. It's okay. You just because you don't know who you are, that's your business. I know who I am, right? I was fearfully and wonderfully made.
Come on now.
Right. And I was made in the image and likeness of what? God. That's what we're taught, right? So then how can I be made in the image and likeness of God and not have God in me?
Come on.
So I often tell people, I give examples to my students, because I've said that before, and they've kind of reached back, on that. And I said, well, here's my example. Say you're going to bake a cake, right? What are the ingredients in a cake? How do people bake cakes? What do you need for a cake?
Milk, flour, sugar.
Yep. Milk. If you make it from scratch, yeast or however, I'm gonna do the box.
Some vanilla extract, if that's what you're working with, that's what you want to throw in there.
Right. So how do you make a cake, and then how is it the cake that you make? How do you consume it? Right? You have to be able to consume it. So individually, all of these ingredients are separate and powerful in and of themselves. An egg is an egg, milk is milk. Milk even comes from, and an egg comes from another source. So they're separate and entire, lacking nothing, right?
Yes.
But when they come together and are homogenized, they become one thing, right? And then that one thing is all in all, right? So if God is now the combination, the homogenized mix of all these powerful separate ingredients that can never be pulled apart, right? If I cut a slice of that cake, that slice is as much God as the whole cake.
Mm.
If I consume the cake and on my plate is a crumb, that crumb is as much God as the slice is God, right? And once I have eaten that crumb, in me is God.
Mm.
There is no way you can take it out. Now it can be let out, you understand? But
Yeah.
in and of itself, I am one and it is in me and I am it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
That's good.
right. So it doesn't, if you look at yourself from that standpoint, that every experience I have is because it is my experience. I'm the center of that thing, right? Every choice, everything that I do, I made these choices.
Yeah.
And so how could you not see yourself as the God of your environment when you're the main character? We in my group, we're reading the book, we're finishing up the book, the 4 Agreements.
Mm-hmm.
So how could you not know that you're the star in your own movie?
Right.
Right. I'm the producer, the director, and the star of my own movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand why people would not see themselves as the God of their environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would change a whole lot of what people experience as in the way of tragedies, in the way of understanding accountability, knowing that I made these certain choices. I created a scenario. There's some things that even happen to people that they never expected to happen, but in that experience, they have the ability to shift what they feel and think about the thing.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking for an external savior, you look for him. He out there. She out there. Look for him.
You will find them if that's what you're looking for.
But if I'm looking inward to see God in me, then I'm going to rise to the position of God. I'm going to be a God in my life, the controller, the creator in my life. So I can now take accountability. I can say, this is my mud, and this mud that I have made, I have fashioned it into a vessel. And if I don't like the vessel that I have made, I can tear it down again and reform the vessel because it's my creation.
Yeah.
Right. But when people are looking for God external, then it happens to them. They're victimized by it, or they're waiting on a shift or change, someone to bring it to them or for it to happen to them. They're not the creator of it. They experience it in a different way. And so I just choose not to do that.
I appreciate that because I know a little bit more about you than the folks that, a lot more about you than the folks that may be watching. I know that you were ordained in the Pentecostal tradition of about over 28 years ago. In remembering the Sophia that you were then, how did you work through any fears that were present as you continue to expand outside of the Christian tradition that you inherited?
Oh my God. I was terrified when I first left. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to pray to, what to pray about. I thought when I first walked through the door, and literally in a vision, I saw myself touching a door handle, and there was this door that had all of this bright light around it. And I touched the door and I opened and I walked through the door. And I remember praying and said, God, I'm going to walk through this door. I had been coming in visions, several visions over the years. I would always come up to this same door, but I'd never opened the door. And this time I said, God, I'm going to walk through that door. I'm going to tie a rope around me. And I trust that the rope is your loving arms. And that if I dare walk any other place that's not good for me, I pray that you snatch me back, because you taught me that even at my lowest place, you're there. So if I walk out here and I'm in the wrong place, I know that you're there with me and you will direct me home. I didn't worry about it no more after that. I fought, I did fight for a little bit, thinking that the devil was tricking me. And if, if it were possible in the end time, if it were possible, the very elite would be tricked or fooled, and I was being fooled. And then finally I just said, okay, I'm just going to do it.
Mm.
Catch me, Lord, because I'm jumping.
Yeah. Come on.
Right. And I did it, and I just kept going. I think it's part curiosity. It's part stubbornness. I done it now. I ain't going back. And I have enjoyed the journey. Sometimes it's difficult, but it all has been very rewarding, instrumental in learning who I am. God, source, all ancestors, Holy Spirit, somebody spoke to me when I was exiting, said that this is now time for me to be able to apply the teachings and learning teachings that I got while in-house outside. What good are the teachings if you stay in the house? How do I apply it when I get out? When I don't have the comfort of home, when I don't have the comfort of pastor, when I don't have the comfort of these other people that I've leaned on, what do I pull out of myself that I can use to lean on in order to do this journey? And this is how I began to apply those same spiritual principles that I learned in church. I applied them on the outside, and I found out that it worked. I was getting ready to cuss. I found out that it worked. I can cuss. I found out that shit worked. It worked in the house. It worked out the house, right?
Yes. So the application isn't tied to an institution. It's tied to you.
It's tied to me, which is why I'm the God of my environment. Once I have learned it, I have embodied it, right? And now I've taken those principles, those things that I have learned, and I'm able to now apply them in these various situations to see how they work. And I found out they work. If I stay in church and I have faith that God is going to bless me to have a home or to buy a house or to get a car, it's the same amount of faith that I'm going to use on the outside when I'm going to stop. It don't work no more. Absolutely not. Life does not stop when you leave the house. Life begins. Right. And so I have enjoyed being outside.
Yes.
I have enjoyed being outside.
Life does not stop when you leave the house. It begins.
Absolutely.
That's a good one. As I think of how you're naming this concept of being the God of your environment, it is a way that you're also leaning into your self-leadership, your self-governance. And there's oftentimes I found, at least in the Christian tradition that I inherited, that sometimes it is believed that the spiritual leader is the only one to have access to that type of information. But what I hear you saying is that we all have access to be able to move within how spirit leads, guides, and directs us.
Absolutely. I mean, it's because people think that they're the only ones in this bowl of soup, right? They, you forget. I love food, so I always give food analogies. Okay, I'm hungry right now. So if you're in a bowl of stew or a bowl of soup, right? There's everything in that soup.
Yes.
Right. Whatever you put in it is in it, right? And if you stick your spoon in it, just drop your spoon down in the bowl, your spoon is now encompassed around all of these various ingredients, right? We are sitting in the midst of the universe. And so everything that happens around us, we're part of it, right? We're with the collective consciousness. We are in the one, and the one is in us. That's just how I like to say it. And so it is foolish of us to think that there's only one way to see a thing or to do a thing or to experience a thing. We're actually sitting in this big bowl. And there's so many things that are happening around us. There's so many people that are around us that lend their own energies in this dynamic that you're going to have all kinds of engagements and interactions.
Yes.
And so you're not alone. Even if you feel like you're alone, you feel isolated, but you still yet are not alone. So, again, we're in this cosmic soup together,
Absolutely.
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the traditions you mentioned is hoodoo. For
Ah,
audience members who don't know what hoodoo is, how would you describe it?
okay, so that's a good question. I think that there are, depending on depending on the region, the family, the era in time, depends on how people would like to describe hoodoo. Okay, for me, hoodoo is a African American spiritual system that collectively all of us add to the mix of cultural experiences, good, bad, or indifferent. It is a cultural spirituality for those who have experienced oppression in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It is how we navigated ancestrally through this experience. And so that looks like health, right? It is people being born and people dying. It looks like people being foods that you eat, songs that you sing, dances that you dance. All of this is part of what hoodoo is, and it may look different, slightly different to people depending on where they live and what time of what lifetime they're looking into,
Mm-hmm.
right? What period of time they're looking into. But consistently, hoodoo is a spiritual system, African American unique spiritual system of cultural experiences for the benefit and support growth elevation of an oppressed people,
That was
African American people.
that was well named. That was well
Yes.
named. Talk to me about your emphasis that this system belongs to African American people.
Well, so I don't care much about being politically correct. People like to chop up some things that I say, and they make me sound like I'm saying other things when I actually am not. But hoodoo is an African American experience. It
Yes.
is a spiritual system that came from a syncretized African religion or spiritual system made specifically by those humans that were trafficked here
Yes.
and forced to live in a place where they were not valued. It was them bringing together all of their various experiences, all of their various knowledge, cultural foods, healing modalities, all that together just to be able to survive in an unfriendly world.
Mm-hmm.
And then that experience, and this is why I'm saying the United States, because every place where there has been colonization, they have their own experience based on their own land, right? And so for us here in the United States, hoodoo is a Black experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Can other people, and we talk about roots, and doing medicines, can other people use plants? Somebody can use this plant and somebody can use the same plant. Sure, they can. But it is how you use that plant in your cultural experience that makes it hoodoo or not,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
make it root work or not. So it to me, it should be practiced solely by African Americans, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Understood.
Close. Closed.
Period. Close. Point blank.
Yes, closed. Closed. But because how it was born, how she was
Mm-hmm.
born. How
Mm-hmm.
she was born was through these experiences, right? People have horrible experiences. I've met so many people who are non Black Americans who have been treated poorly here in
Yeah.
America through their own families and through whatever was going on in the system, treated poorly. And so I don't, disallow, I'm not trying to disallow those experiences, but what we're talking about is our experience.
Mm-hmm.
And when a system has been formed to keep a set of people in bondage, that's not the same experience.
Right.
You could have an experience that was horrible, and you had that experience based on your class, what class, your class of people, economic, socioeconomic background. You could have that experience, but you will not have the same experience by your skin color. That's different, right? Solely based on my skin color, solely based on the fact that I look different is how I've been experiencing life here. And this is where hoodoo comes in. So if you are not, or if you have not had this experience, I don't care if Mima and them were poor and lived in the mountains. That don't matter. What I'm saying here is Mima and them can go to a store and not be harassed. And I could go into the same store and be elegant, wear nice clothes, and have a nice designer bag, and they'd follow me instead of Mima. That's the experience. That's the difference, right? So, understood. Now, I don't need to say no more.
So, with your being a hoodoo practitioner, do you believe that your Christian roots supported you in being a hoodoo practitioner?
Well, baby, the Black church is hoodoo. Well, okay, so
talk to me about it. That's why we're talking.
Okay, so let me just say this. Okay, let me just say this. Okay. It is because of hoodoo how we have church. We have church differently based on our cultural and our ancestral experiences, ancestral memory, right? That's why our church services look different than other people's church services, right? Because it has to do with us culturally, okay? Or our ancestral energy, right? Backgrounds. And so there are many things that our Big Mama Nim did that was hoodoo, but of course that was the way they lived. So naturally in their religious experience, they would bring the way they live culturally into that experience. You can't separate the two, and I think this is where the modern Christianity has affected us because we have tried to assimilate, and so in some sort of way it washed away or tried to wash away our culture out of this religious experience. But we, as a people with resilience, often shifted and changed and put a little seasoning in that, what I call that thayao. You just throw that thayao in there and it just doesn't look the same. You just, I don't know if I can say any more about that, but definitely when we see many of the practices, many of the things that we do, like the ring shout, and how many of us don't even know how the way we shout or the way we dance or way we connect with the shift in the energy, why that looks so different. That has to do with our ancestry and how we engage and interact with each other. So that's why I say it like that. It is much of the things that we do in Black church. It can be found in our ancestral memory from us, come from our ancestral memory. Yeah. So. So
no, thank you for offering your perspective on that, because I think it is important for people to understand the roots and the foundation of things as you've expressed it. When I think about, there was an interesting, I'm getting ready to, by the time this show airs, I would have already done it, but I'm doing a trauma-informed training. And I was talking with colleagues about, we were talking about trauma-informed care and the ways that we can release trauma. We were talking about how trauma is passed down generationally when you think about epigenetics, and how it shows up in certain communities. And one of my colleagues named, which I thought was really interesting, that African-American cultural experiences of church are more expressive because of the things that we went through in the transatlantic slave trade. And so for me, I just thought it was interesting because I'm like, we were doing that pre-slavery.
Yeah.
So that does, and I wish I would have named it then, but I didn't. But this is just our expressiveness is a part of our ontological way of experiencing life. It's who we do.
Absolutely. I mean, I've heard people say that we didn't. I've read books, Hoodoo books by appropriators who talk about, the slaves brought here or Africans brought here didn't have any understanding of agriculture, didn't know these things, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, in every tribe that is attached to every land and every set of people, they always had these people. They had farmers and growers. They had midwives who birthed babies. They had people who buried babies or buried people, morticians. They had the medicine man or the clergy of some sort, and then they had the people who worked other kinds of, magics and working. It's in every culture. It's even in European culture. What, are you kidding me? Everybody has these sets of people.
Yes.
And so when many of our people came here, the water that they transitioned through, or that amniotic fluid, if you would, that our ancestors came through the transatlantic slave trade and then birthed here, that memory was not lost. That experience and that knowledge was not lost, right? Many people were brought here because of what they knew.
Right.
Because they knew how to cultivate rice, because they understood how to grow this was, a trade ship. So they had seeds and crops and plants and stuff, and they brought people to farm this land. And with them came their culture. What they do, just lose their culture on the trip?
Right.
They get off the boat in shackles. Who am I? What am I? What do I know? Nothing. I don't know.
It is so true. It is sad, and you have to laugh about it, that people would find people and believe that they have no knowledge, which is interesting. That's how colonization works. Well, you mentioned the ancestors. We're talking about those who came before us that are the reason why we are here on this soil. Why is ancestry so important in understanding your ancestors and who they are?
Well, because to understand your ancestors helps you to define who you are. It's essential. I can't, even if I actually do not know or forget or say I was one who was born from another set of parents and was adopted by a new set of parents, there is DNA, genetics that still govern who I am. Even if I'm socialized in a way, there are still things that are unique to me because they're in my genes, right? And so memory is like that. Our ancestors are like that. These people are still part of us. They are us, or we are them, right? We are our ancestors manifested generations into the future. My grandchildren are a combination of me manifested 2 generations into the future. I'm a living ancestor, right? I'm a living relative right now. My great aunt, my grandmother's identical twin sister is still living. On her birthday, which is in about a week, she'll be 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
Right? She's still living. And so I am her. She is me. Her energy, her DNA is still in me. I can't take her out of me. And so it is important to be able to know or reach back to your ancestors so that they can tell you how things were, so that you'll know how things are. Right? If you don't know or understand ancestry or value the input of elders and ancestry, then you're lost. You don't know who you can't know who you are. It's impossible. right?
So you are lost if you don't know your ancestors, which I would definitely agree with that. I'm wondering, and we're getting ready to step into some theology now. So, for those that are in a place of their faith where they're still wrestling, or even feel like ancestor veneration, or remembrance, honoring is demonic. And I'm ordained Baptist, so I still practice Christianity, although my theological leanings are very, very liberal and progressive and expansive. Do you believe in that? Do you believe that something is missed? And now I embrace all of those who embrace atonement theology. But do you believe that there is something that we miss when we anchor into one person for salvation, as opposed to honoring that salvation happens in community with ourselves and with each other? Yeah, so I'm wondering your thoughts about that.
Do we miss when we focus on the one savior as opposed to the collective? Absolutely, we do. Because if we believe that God works through people, right? We have not yet seen, as far as we know, there has been no returning of Christ. He ain't got here yet, right? There were people a couple of months ago that said the rapture was coming. They was getting ready to get caught. They didn't know. They didn't get there. He didn't get there, or they got left. One of the two. But when God source all moves in your life, right? When God does a thing, he usually does a thing through people.
Yes.
Right. So if we negate the community, then we negate a way that what God uses to bless us, right? Most people are looking for it to fall out the sky, or checks in the mail. Just all of a sudden, I go to my mailbox to check in the mail. Somebody wrote it, right? Somebody sent it. It came from somewhere. It didn't just appear. Right. So to not include the collective or the community is someone's living in the delusion. That's not how that happens. Plants grow together in fellowship.
Yeah.
Right. Animals live together. Right. And so if we think that we're an island, or that everything comes to us mysteriously, and that there is no need for understanding or identifying or accepting the collective as divine as well, we're missing out on the essence of God. God is all of these things. God is, right? Is again back to that cake, right? God is all of these things, but that cake could not have been had it not been for the egg.
Yes.
Right? Or the milk, or the this, or the that. It couldn't have been. So, I mean, even so much so, here's the thing. I ask my students, I don't want to go on too long, but I've asked my students the same question: how do you bake a cake? And they told me all of the ingredients. And I said, are you sure those are all the things that you use to bake a cake? Yeah. Some of them said, I disagree. I believe that there's more involved in baking a cake. There's more involved in you baking a cake and being able to eat the cake. One of the things that is needed is your strength to either beat the cake mix, or the blender or the mixer, right? Which means that you had to buy that, which means that you had to have money. That means that you had to have a job. Right? Which means that you had to have transportation to get there, right? You had to have reasonable health to get there. That job had to be there. There had to be somebody who started the business, right? All of these are important. There had to be a grocery store, because most folks don't have chickens running around in their yard. So you had to be able to buy that. That's important, right? Your job is important. How did you bake your cake? Do you have a stove? You got just stove, a la peanut butter sandwich, boom. There's a cake. No, you had to have electricity in your home to bake that cake. Again, that takes you back to your job.
Right.
Right. So there are trace things that are essential in the development, or that are essential in the collective for the thing that you desire to come into being. Yes. Right. We see that in air. The air is a collective. The air we breathe is a collective.
Mm-hmm.
right? And people don't think about that. It is essential that nitrogen is 70% of air, because how will we be able to breathe with 20% of oxygen? We wouldn't be able to breathe.
Right.
It kind of holds it in an incubator or a bowl for us. And then with that, there's other gases, and there pollutants, and there air, water vapor. There's all kinds of things that is comprised of the air that we breathe, right?
Right.
And so if we see this in nature with the identifying of different species, the identifying of different animals in the animal kingdom, and all of this other thing, how in the world could you think that it's only one source or one person or one thing that feeds to us? No, that conglomerate is small, intricate pieces that come together to create a whole. It's a pixel. All of these pixels create a picture.
Mm-hmm.
And each pixel is important to the picture. And if one pixel is missing, then you don't have the thing that you need. You have to have it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it is imperative for people to be able to see themselves as part of the soup, as part of the bowl, in the cosmic soup, in the collective consciousness.
Right.
If you don't see that as part of your spiritual experience, and you see it only through one source, I think you're missing an opportunity to see God move in various and sundry ways. So I know that's a long way around it, but I kind of get
that was a good way. I'm glad you chose that path, because there is something about the collective. There is something about understanding that I get to be right now because of people who came before me, people that I actually have pictures of in my altar space, people that I've actually met a lot of them. And there's a whole host, hundreds, thousands that I have not seen. So I am with you, and I have so much compassion, more than I did when I came into a new awareness of the salvific nature of community, of the collective, for those who still believe that Jesus died for their sins, rose on the third day, and came to save them. Compassion in a way, not that I'm belittling their belief, but I've come to understand that those who believe that is for them at this path and at this juncture in their lives. And I celebrate anybody who believes that what they have found is what works for them. We are speaking of what works for us and what we perceive to be anchored in the nature of God. That is a collaborative entity. When you think about or a collaborative experience, I like to think of God as a frequency, a continuum. There are lower vibrating frequencies of this collective, and there are higher vibrating frequencies of this collective. So thank you for sharing your perspective of it. We started with this earlier, the popping of hands that you can do sometimes. So I'm thinking about, since you mentioned that you will pop people's hands, what are some of the hard truths that you have had to share with people that they might be resistant to throughout your work as a teacher and a practitioner?
Well, firstly, to understand that. Oh, I was going to say that. I was saying, you were saying a cuss word again. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to keep it clean. I'm trying to keep it clean and
let yourself be free. Let yourself be free.
It's the notion that this goes back to ancestry. It's the notion that people do not look at the whole to see the picture. They only see the leg that they are coming from, as if that's the whole thing, right? And what makes me, my skin crawl a little bit when I pop somebody's finger. I popped somebody the other day. She got mad and called me names, But one of the things to understand is that there is a bigger picture that you have to look at. There's context that you need to know, and people practice spirituality out of context. They practice spirituality from a vacuum. based on what they know, what they experience, or what they just learned from social media, or what they just learned from their mama and them, right? It is more than your mama and them in this world, and there are other things that you can learn. This is why I encourage people to experience things, to read things, to ask questions, you know. And when sometimes I've had clients to come to me and they, you know, how do you make a, you know, a love bath? And well, how do you make a love bath? What have you researched? What goes into this? Well, what have you researched? What do you know? Right. And so it bothers me when people don't do any research. They just want you to give them the answers. And this is how misinformation gets continue to spread. You have to learn things, certain things for yourself, right? You can get it. You can learn from a base. You do the work, right? And so many people don't want to do the work. They just want, because we got everything right in front of us. We got all this AI, and we got now, you know, all of these social media things that we can work with. They don't want to do the work. They just want it quick, quick, quick. Don't want to be responsible for anything, and they just want it handed to them. And sometimes your understanding of a thing comes with the experiencing of it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so when, you know, that pop your hand, put your hand down. You don't know nothing. Right? Because I get people, I'm so-and-so. You don't know nothing.
The more I know, the more I find out that I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the wise man. A wise man knows that what he knows is not everything. I know nothing. Right? And so leaving the church, that's what was hung in my head. I want to know what I don't know. What I know, I want to know it better. That's what I said. What I know, I want to know it better. And what I don't, I want to learn what I don't know. And so that means that every day I seek to hone in, to cultivate, to refine the gifts that I already have, and simultaneously leaving space to learn new things.
Yeah.
And so people who are closed off and people who think they know, you can get your hand popped real quick over here with me. I'll pop your hand. Put your hand down. You don't know nothing. Shut your mouth. I'm a Gen Xer, you know.
No, I think it's. I love that you encourage people to explore and to be curious. This is why I'm such a big advocate of interfaith dialogue and interspirituality, because we all are one big puzzle in terms of the various frameworks of spirituality and religion.
Yes.
And all of us are attempting to make meaning of a reality that's much larger than ourselves. And when I go to a Buddhist Sangha, I get something from there. When I go to a synagogue, I've gotten something from there. When I sit with Sikhs, I get something from there. And so I am grateful that people have an invitation. If you didn't know you have an invitation, you have an invitation. This is your sign. Go explore and be curious. This is my last question. So given the Iyanifa that you are, the priestess that you are, where have you had to prune yourself in order to become the woman and the elder that you are now?
I had to learn that I can learn from younger people. Because sometimes as an elder, we think we know it all. And we know a lot, but we don't know it all. And I've learned that, or what I'm learning is that source, all, God, ancestors, whatever tax and label, can speak through a vessel, regardless of who they are, where they live, what their ages are. And so my part now is to be receptive to new things. To me, there's nothing more, I'll call it disappointing in a way, is to see an elder person who refuses to bend, who refuses to receive, right? I don't want to be that elder. I know, and I've shared this with someone before, that I've learned and I continue to learn that knowledge is not for me to own. Knowledge is for me to share. I just share what I've learned, right? And in sharing it and giving it, I make room to learn more. But if I house it and hold on to it and say, this is my knowledge, this is what I've learned, this is how I know, then I'll never learn a new thing. I'll always be living on what it is I think I know. And I know for sure that what it is that I think I know, there's more to know. So to me, that places me in the place of what we would consider God. I know it all. I've had all the experience. You have to come from me. I'm the well, draw from me. No, I'm a faucet. I am a faucet. I run, but there's something that feeds into me.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's, you know, as an elder, and I'm a new elder. I'm a young elder. You know, I haven't gotten to 70 and 80 yet. Lord willing, the creek don't rise, I will, right? But I growing up around the elders, you know, my grandmother, my grandmother's twin sister, I've always been around elderly people, so I kind of carry myself in an older way. You know how people say you're old acting. I'm old acting. And but what I'm learning is that even with this is a big position. That should be carried with dignity and with love. And so many elders do not carry it with love. And they hurt and harm the younger ones. And so that is not what I seek to do. I seek to incorporate all of the awarenesses, all of the experiences. If it wasn't for new experiences, I wouldn't be on StreamYard, right? I had to learn it, right? If it was the way that I've always known it, we'd be on the telephone and it would be a rotary phone. It would be, you know.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think it's important to experience new things. My father tells me that all the time. There are people whose awareness is very small and narrow, but it always benefits a person to experience new things, see how other people live, and to move around because it gives you a bigger, better, and clearer perspective. If you only see from inside the house, you never see it all.
Absolutely.
You know, you never see it all. So
well named. If you can give people one piece of wisdom to carry with them after our conversation, what would it be?
Don't think too highly of yourself. Understand that what you know, there's somebody else know more. And also understand that you are a vessel meant to grow. And so by all intents and purposes, or by any means necessary, I should say, ask questions, evolve and grow. Don't stay stagnant. Because anything that is stagnant becomes dis-ease and it becomes waste. And so, and don't always eat from the same plate. Somebody got to put some greens, some yams, some cornbread, you know, some meat of some sort on the plate. I don't want a plate of rice. And so don't just be a plate of rice. You got to be able to experience some kimchi, you know, or something.
Come on now. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Well, you all heard it here first. Don't just eat off of one plate, and remember that you are an ever evolving being. So you get an opportunity to choose which path or paths you want to explore and discover, because you are the God of your environment, according to Mama SunFiyahh. So please, thank you all for tuning in, staying tapped in to KYNDversations. If you felt supported by this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Please love, like, share it, and subscribe. We're building something real sacred together. We look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday. Peace and wholeness to each of you.